The power of verbalization is rooted in the way our brains process information. When we only think about something, we are primarily using the language centers of our brain. But when we speak, we engage additional neural pathways, including those associated with hearing and the motor control of speech. This multisensory engagement creates a stronger memory trace and a more robust commitment to action. However, awareness alone, while crucial, is often not enough to affect lasting change. This is where the concept of implementation intentions comes into play. An implementation intention is essentially a specific plan that outlines when and where you will perform a particular action or habit. It is a simple yet powerful tool that bridges the gap between intention and action. Consider a study conducted in Great Britain where researchers worked with 248 people to improve their exercise habits. The participants were divided into 3 groups. The first group simply tracked their workouts, while the second group received motivational material about the benefits of exercise. The third group, however, was asked to create a specific plan for when and where they would exercise in the coming week. The results were striking. In the first 2 groups, only about 35% to 38% of participants exercised at least once per week, but in the third group, a whopping 91% followed through with their exercise plans. This dramatic difference highlights the power of having a concrete plan in place. The formula for an implementation intention is straightforward. When situation X arises, I will perform response Y. This simple structure forces you to consider the specific circumstances under which you'll carry out your intended behavior. It eliminates the vagueness that often plagues our good intentions and replaces it with a clear, actionable plan. For example, instead of saying, "I want to read more," you might create an implementation intention like, "When I finish dinner each evening, I will read for 30 minutes in my favorite armchair." This specificity makes it much more likely that you'll follow through, as you've clearly defined both the trigger, finishing dinner, and the action, reading for 30 minutes in a specific location. Implementation intentions are effective across a wide range of behaviors and goals. They have been shown to increase adherence to health-related behaviors, like getting flu shots or attending medical appointments. They have also been used successfully in civic engagement initiatives, boosting voter turnout by prompting people to plan the specifics of their trip to the polling station. The power of implementation intentions lies in their ability to remove decision-making from the equation. When the moment to act arrives, and you've predetermined exactly when and where you'll perform a behavior, you don't have to rely on motivation or willpower in the moment. You simply follow through on the plan you've already made. This principle can be applied to virtually any habit or goal you want to pursue. Want to start a meditation practice? Try setting an implementation intention like, "I will meditate for 10 minutes at 7 a.m. each morning in my spare room." Looking to improve your language skills? Your intention might be, "I will practice Spanish for 20 minutes at 6 p.m. each evening at my desk." The key is to be as specific as possible about the time, location, and nature of the action you intend to take. This specificity serves 2 important purposes. It makes the action concrete and therefore more likely to be carried out, and it helps to anchor the new habit to existing routines or environmental cues, making it easier to remember and integrate into your daily life. It's worth noting that the most effective cues for habits are often tied to time and location. Our brains are particularly adept at forming associations with specific times and places. By leveraging these natural tendencies, we can create powerful triggers for our desired behaviors. When implementing this strategy, it can be helpful to start with small, manageable actions. While it's admirable to have big goals, trying to make dramatic changes all at once can be overwhelming and unsustainable. Instead, focus on creating implementation intentions for small habits that you can consistently perform over time. These small actions can compound into significant changes. Another powerful technique that builds on the concept of implementation intentions is habit stacking. This approach, popularized by B.J. Fogg, involves linking a new habit to an existing one. The formula for habit stacking is, after current habit, I will new habit. For example, if you already have a habit of brewing coffee every morning, you might stack a new habit onto it. After I start the coffee maker, I will do 10 push-ups, or after I brush my teeth, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. By anchoring the new behavior to an established routine, You increase the likelihood of remembering to do it and create a natural flow from one action to the next. Habit stacking can be particularly effective because it doesn't require you to create entirely new routines. Instead, it allows you to build upon the habits and patterns already ingrained in your daily life. This makes the process of adopting new behaviors feel more natural and less disruptive. As you experiment with implementation intentions and habit stacking, it's important to remain flexible and patient. What works perfectly for one person might need adjustment for another. Pay attention to how your new habits fit into your life and be willing to make tweaks as needed. Perhaps you find that morning meditation doesn't work with your schedule, but a midday mindfulness break fits perfectly. The key is to find what works for you and your unique circumstances. It's also crucial to recognize that forming new habits takes time. While implementation intentions can significantly increase your chances of success, they are not magic. Consistency and repetition are still necessary to truly ingrain a new behavior. Be patient with yourself and celebrate the small victories along the way. One often overlooked aspect of habit formation is the importance of context. Our behaviors are heavily influenced by our environment, so it's worth considering how you can set up your surroundings to support your new habits. If you're trying to read more, keep a book visible in your living room. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. These small environmental cues can serve as powerful reminders and make it easier to follow through on your intentions. As you progress on your journey of habit formation, you may find that your new behaviors start to feel more natural and automatic. This is a sign that the habit is becoming ingrained. However, it's important not to become complacent. Continue to use implementation intentions and habit stacking to reinforce your positive behaviors and to tackle new goals. Remember, the process of personal growth and habit formation is ongoing. There will always be new skills to learn, new habits to form, and new goals to pursue. By mastering the art of implementation intentions and habit stacking, you're equipping yourself with powerful tools that can serve you throughout your life. In conclusion, the path to lasting behavior change begins with awareness and is paved with specific, actionable plans. By verbalizing our intentions, creating clear implementation intentions, and strategically stacking new habits onto existing ones, we can dramatically increase our chances of success. As you move forward, consider the habits you want to form or the goals you want to achieve. How can you create specific implementation intentions for these aspirations? What existing habits can you use as anchors for new behaviors? By applying these principles consistently and patiently, you can gradually reshape your daily routines and, by extension, your life. Remember, every great achievement starts with a single well-planned step. Your journey to a better you begins now with the next habit you choose to implement. The power of habits and their interconnectedness in our daily lives is a fascinating subject that deserves deep exploration. Let's delve into how our possessions and behaviors can trigger chains of actions and how we can harness this phenomenon to build positive habits. Consider the story of Denis Diderot, the 18th century French philosopher. Upon receiving a beautiful scarlet robe as a gift, Diderot found himself in an unexpected predicament. The robe's elegance stood in stark contrast to his other, more modest possessions. This disparity created a sense of disharmony in his surroundings, leading Diderot to embark on a spending spree to upgrade his belongings. This cascade of purchases, triggered by a single item, illustrates a common human tendency now known as the Diderot effect. It's a pattern we can observe in various aspects of our lives. Think about the last time you bought a new piece of clothing. Did you find yourself suddenly eyeing accessories to match? Or perhaps you've experienced the domino effect of home decorating, where changing one element leads to a complete room makeover. The Diderot effect extends beyond material possessions. It is a principle that applies to our behaviors and habits as well. Our actions are rarely isolated. Instead, they form part of a continuous chain of events. One behavior naturally leads to another, creating a sequence that can either work for or against us. This interconnectedness of actions is evident in our daily routines. Consider your morning ritual. The alarm goes off, you get out of bed, brush your teeth, shower, get dressed, and so on. Each action serves as a cue for the next, creating a seamless flow of behaviors. Understanding this connection is crucial because it provides insight into how we can effectively build new habits. The concept of habit stacking, developed by B.J. Fogg as part of his Tiny Habits program, leverages this behavioral chain reaction. The idea is simple yet powerful. Attach a new habit to an existing one. By doing so, you create a natural trigger for the new behavior, increasing the likelihood of its successful integration into your routine. The formula for habit stacking is straightforward. After current habit, I will new habit. This approach eliminates the need to rely on willpower or memory alone to implement a new habit. Instead, you're piggybacking on an established behavior, making the new habit feel like a natural extension of your existing routine. Let's explore some practical applications of habit stacking. Suppose you want to incorporate a brief meditation practice into your day. You might decide, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. The act of pouring coffee, something you already do every day, becomes the cue for your new meditation habit. To increase your physical activity, you could establish a habit stack. For instance, after I take off my work shoes, I will immediately change into my workout clothes. This simple act of changing clothes can serve as a powerful trigger to get you moving, even on days when motivation is low. The beauty of habit stacking lies in its flexibility and scalability. You can start with small, manageable habits and gradually build more complex routines. For example, you might begin with a simple evening routine. After dinner, I will put my dishes in the dishwasher. Once this becomes automatic, you can expand it. After putting my dishes away, I will wipe down the kitchen counter. Further, after wiping the counter, I will set out my coffee mug for tomorrow morning. By chaining these small actions together, you create a positive version of the Zeigarnik effect. Each completed task provides a sense of accomplishment and momentum, making it easier to move on to the next action in your stack. It's important to note that the effectiveness of habit stacking depends on choosing the right cue. The trigger should be specific and actionable. For example, when I take a break for lunch is less effective than when I close my laptop for lunch. The latter provides a clear, unmistakable signal to initiate the next action. Moreover, the frequency of your chosen cue should match the desired frequency of your new habit. If you want to establish a daily habit, it needs to be stacked on top of another daily occurrence. Attaching a daily habit to a weekly event is a recipe for inconsistency. To identify potential habit stacks, it can be helpful to create a detailed list of your current daily activities. This inventory serves as a map of your day, highlighting natural points where new habits can be inserted. Consider both actions you take, like brushing your teeth, and events that happen to you, like the sun setting. This comprehensive view of your day can reveal unexpected opportunities for habit formation. The power of habit stacking extends beyond personal development. It can be applied in various contexts, from improving social skills to managing finances. For instance, you might decide, when I walk into a party, I will introduce myself to someone I don't know yet. Or, when I want to buy something over $100, I will wait 24 hours before purchasing. These habit stacks can help automate beneficial behaviors, reducing the mental effort required to make good choices. One particularly intriguing application of habit stacking is in cultivating mindfulness and improving mood. By associating brief moments of reflection or positivity with routine actions, you can significantly impact your overall well-being. For example, when the phone rings, I will take one deep breath and smile before answering. This simple stack can transform potentially stressful moments into opportunities for calm and positivity. It's worth noting that habit stacking isn't just about adding new behaviors. It can also be used to break undesirable habits. By identifying the cues that trigger negative habits, you can insert alternative positive actions. This approach allows you to redirect the chain of behaviors in a more beneficial direction. As you experiment with habit stacking, remember that flexibility and patience are key. What works for one person may not work for another, and what works at one point in your life may need adjustment as circumstances change. Be willing to tweak your habit stacks if they're not quite clicking. The goal is to create a system that feels natural and sustainable for you. Moreover, don't underestimate the power of small habits. While it might seem insignificant to meditate for just 1 minute or do only 10 push-ups, These small actions serve a crucial purpose. They help establish the neural pathways associated with the new behavior, making it easier to expand the habit over time. Starting small reduces the activation energy required to begin, making it more likely that you'll follow through consistently. Another interesting aspect of habit stacking is its potential to create a ripple effect in your life. As you successfully implement one positive habit, you may find yourself more motivated and capable of tackling other areas of self-improvement. This can lead to a virtuous cycle of personal growth, where each new habit builds upon the last, gradually transforming your daily routines and, by extension, your life. It's also worth considering how habit stacking can be applied in professional settings. Organizations can use this principle to improve workflows, enhance productivity, and foster a positive company culture. For instance, a team might implement a habit stack like, after our weekly meeting, we will spend 5 minutes acknowledging team members' contributions. This simple addition can boost morale and reinforce a culture of appreciation. As we navigate an increasingly complex world, the ability to form and maintain beneficial habits becomes ever more crucial. Habit stacking offers a powerful tool in this pursuit, allowing us to harness the natural flow of our daily lives to effect positive change. By understanding and applying this principle, we can transform the domino effect from a potential source of unnecessary consumption into a force for personal growth and improvement. In essence, habit stacking is about more than just forming new habits. It's about redesigning our lives in intentional ways. It's a reminder that our days are made up of countless small decisions and actions, each of which has the potential to steer us toward our goals. By carefully curating these actions and linking them together, we can create a daily experience that aligns more closely with our aspirations and values. As you move forward, consider the habits you'd like to cultivate in your own life. What existing routines could serve as anchors for these new behaviors? How might you chain several small habits together to create a more significant positive impact? Remember, the journey of personal growth is ongoing, and habit stacking provides a flexible, powerful framework to support this journey. By embracing the interconnected nature of our behaviors and leveraging it through habit stacking, we open up new possibilities for self-improvement. Whether your goal is to boost productivity, enhance well-being, or simply bring more intentionality to your daily life, this approach offers a practical, accessible path forward. So why not start today? Choose one small habit you'd like to cultivate, find a suitable existing routine to stack it onto, and take that first step toward positive change. After all, as the domino effect shows us, one small change can set in motion a far-reaching transformation. The hidden influence of environment on behavior. In the realm of personal development and behavior change, we often place a great deal of emphasis on willpower and motivation. We believe that if we can just muster enough inner strength or find the right source of inspiration, we'll be able to transform our habits and achieve our goals. However, emerging research and real-world experiments are beginning to paint a different picture, one where our environment plays a far more significant role in shaping our actions than we might have previously thought. Consider the case of Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, where a primary care physician named Anne Thorndike conducted a fascinating experiment. Her hypothesis was simple yet revolutionary. She believed she could improve the eating habits of thousands of hospital staff and visitors without directly engaging with them or attempting to boost their motivation. Instead, she focused on altering the environment in which people made their food and drink choices. Thorndike and her team redesigned the hospital cafeteria, making subtle changes to the arrangement of food and drinks. They added water as an option in refrigerators that previously only contained soda and placed baskets of bottled water near food stations throughout the room. The results were striking. Over a 3-month period, soda sales dropped by 11.4%, while bottled water sales increased by 25.8%. Similar adjustments to food placement yielded comparable results. What's particularly noteworthy about this experiment is that it achieved significant behavior change without any direct communication or motivational tactics. People's choices were influenced simply by the adjustment of their environment. This phenomenon highlights a crucial principle in behavior science. Our actions are often shaped more by our surroundings than by our internal drive or conscious decision-making. This concept isn't entirely new. Back in 1936, psychologist Kurt Lewin proposed a simple yet powerful equation. Behavior is a function of the person and their environment. B equals F, P, E. This formula suggests that our actions are not solely determined by our personality or intentions, but are significantly influenced by the context in which we find ourselves. The business world was quick to catch on to this idea. In 1952, economist Hawkins Stern described what he called suggestion impulse buying, where a shopper purchases a product not because they had a pre-existing need for it, but because of how it was presented to them. This insight has shaped retail strategies for decades. Items placed at eye level in stores tend to sell better than those on lower shelves. Expensive brands are often positioned in easy-to-reach locations, while cheaper alternatives are tucked away. End cap displays, known as end caps, are particularly effective at driving sales. For instance, a staggering 45% of Coca-Cola sales come from these strategic placements. The power of environmental cues extends far beyond retail settings. Our behavior in various contexts is often shaped by subtle environmental factors. In a church, people tend to speak in hushed tones without being explicitly told to do so. On a dark street, we become more alert and cautious. These behavioral shifts occur almost automatically in response to our surroundings. Understanding this principle can be transformative in our approach to habit formation and personal growth. Instead of relying solely on willpower or motivation, we can leverage our environment to support our desired behaviors. This approach is not only more effective but often requires less conscious effort. Consider how this might apply to common goals like reading more or eating healthier. Rather than simply willing ourselves to read more, we might place books in prominent locations around our home, making them the easiest entertainment option to reach for. Instead of trying to resist unhealthy snacks through sheer willpower, we could remove them from our immediate environment and ensure that healthier options are readily available. The concept of environmental design for behavior change is particularly powerful because of how our brains process information from our surroundings. Humans are heavily reliant on visual cues. Of the approximately 11 million sensory receptors in the human body, about 10 million are dedicated to sight. Some experts estimate that half of the brain's resources are used on vision. This means that what we see in our environment has an outsized impact on our behavior. Given this, it's crucial to create environments that support our goals and desired habits. This might involve setting up a dedicated workspace for productivity, organizing our kitchen to make healthy cooking easier, or even using visual reminders for important tasks or habits we want to cultivate. We all have multiple facets to our identity, and by deliberately focusing on and developing certain traits, we can shape our overall self-image in positive ways. The beauty of this approach is its flexibility and resilience. Unlike rigid, outcome-based goals that can be derailed by setbacks, identity-based habits are more adaptable. If you see yourself as a healthy person, a single unhealthy meal doesn't negate that identity. Instead, it becomes an outlier, prompting you to return to behaviors that align with your self-image. Moreover, focusing on identity change can lead to more holistic personal growth. When you change how you see yourself in one area, it often has positive ripple effects in other areas of your life. For instance, developing the identity of a disciplined person in your fitness routine might naturally extend to increased discipline in your work or personal relationships. However, it's crucial to approach this process with patience and self-compassion. Changing deeply ingrained beliefs and habits takes time. There will be setbacks and moments of doubt. The key is to view these not as failures, but as part of the learning process, opportunities to reinforce your commitment to your new identity. It's also worth noting that while we focus on personal identity, our habits and beliefs are often influenced by our environment and social circles. Surrounding yourself with people who embody the traits you aspire to can significantly aid in your transformation. If you want to become more entrepreneurial, spending time with entrepreneurs can help shift your self-perception and reinforce behaviors aligned with that identity. As you embark on this journey of identity-based habit change, remember that the goal is not perfection, but progress. Each small action that aligns with your desired identity is a step in the right direction. Over time, these atomic habits compound, leading to significant personal transformation. In conclusion, the path to lasting change lies not in setting ambitious goals or relying on sheer willpower, but in reshaping our fundamental identity. By focusing on who we want to become rather than just what we want to achieve, we set the stage for sustainable, meaningful change. Through the power of atomic habits, small, consistent actions aligned with our desired identity, we can gradually transform ourselves. This approach requires patience, self-reflection, and a willingness to challenge our existing beliefs about ourselves. But the rewards are immense. Not only do we achieve our desired outcomes, but we do so in a way that feels natural and sustainable. We don't just change what we do, we change who we are. As you reflect on your own goals and aspirations, consider shifting your focus from outcomes to identity. Ask yourself not just what you want to achieve, but who you need to become to achieve it. Then, identify the small atomic habits that will help you embody that identity. Remember, every great achievement, every personal transformation, begins with a single small step. Your atomic habits are the building blocks of your future self. Choose them wisely, implement them consistently, and watch as they compound into remarkable results. To quit smoking through willpower alone, one might focus on developing the identity of a health-conscious person who values clean air and physical well-being. It is important to note that this process of identity change through habit formation is not always linear or easy. There will be setbacks and moments of doubt. The key is to view these not as failures but as part of the learning process, opportunities to reinforce our commitment to our new identity. Each time we choose to act in alignment with our desired identity, even after a setback, we strengthen our new self-image. As we embark on this journey of identity-based habit change, it is helpful to regularly reflect on our progress and adjust our approach as needed. This might involve journaling about our experiences, seeking feedback from trusted friends or mentors, or periodically reassessing our goals and the habits we're cultivating to support them. It's also worth considering how this approach to personal change can impact broader social change. As individuals reshape their identities and behaviors, they can influence their immediate social circles and, by extension, larger communities. This ripple effect of personal transformation can contribute to more significant societal shifts over time. In conclusion, the path to lasting personal change lies not in setting ambitious goals or relying on fleeting motivation, but in reshaping our fundamental identity through consistent, identity-aligned habits. By focusing on who we want to become rather than just what we want to achieve, we set the stage for sustainable, meaningful transformation. This approach requires patience, self-reflection, and a willingness to challenge our existing beliefs about ourselves. But the rewards are immense. Not only do we achieve our desired outcomes, but we do so in a way that feels natural and sustainable. We don't just change what we do, we change who we are. As you reflect on your own goals and aspirations, consider shifting your focus from outcomes to identity. Ask yourself not just what you want to achieve, but who you need to become to achieve it. Then identify the small, consistent habits that will help you embody that identity. Remember, every great achievement, every personal transformation, begins with a single small step. Your habits are the building blocks of your future self. Choose them wisely, implement them consistently, and watch as they compound into remarkable results, shaping not just your actions but your very identity. The journey of personal growth and habit formation is a fascinating exploration of human behavior and psychology. At its core, this journey begins with a crucial first step: awareness. We often go through life on autopilot, our actions guided by deeply ingrained habits that operate below the level of conscious thought. However, to truly transform our lives and build positive habits, we must first shine a light on these automatic behaviors. One powerful technique for increasing awareness is the simple act of verbalizing our actions and intentions. There is a profound difference between thinking about doing something and actually saying it out loud. When we vocalize our habits or plans, we engage more of our senses and create a stronger mental imprint. This verbalization can take many forms, from simply stating a task we need to complete to acknowledging a habit we want to change. For instance, imagine you're trying to break the habit of mindlessly scrolling through social media before bed. Instead of silently recognizing this behavior, try saying out loud, "I'm about to waste time on my phone instead of getting restful sleep." This verbal acknowledgement makes the consequences of the action more tangible and real. It's harder to ignore the implications when they are hanging in the air, spoken in your own voice. This principle extends beyond breaking bad habits. It is equally effective for reinforcing positive behaviors or simply remembering important tasks. If you have a busy day ahead, try verbalizing your to-do list in the morning. Today, I need to finish the report by noon, call the client at 2 p.m., and pick up groceries on the way home. By saying these tasks aloud, you are more likely to remember them and feel a stronger sense of commitment to completing them. The good news is that while we are influenced by our environment, we also have the power to shape it. We can be the architects of our surroundings, deliberately designing them to support our goals and desired behaviors. This approach to behavior change is often more sustainable and less mentally taxing than relying on constant conscious effort. An interesting example of the power of environmental design comes from a study conducted in the Netherlands during the 1970s energy crisis. Researchers found that in one suburb, some homeowners used 30% less energy than their neighbors, despite living in similar homes and paying the same price for electricity. The key difference? The location of the electrical meter. Owners with the meter in the main hallway used significantly less electricity than those with meters in the basement. The visibility of energy usage in daily life was enough to influence behavior without any other intervention. This principle can be applied to various aspects of our lives. Want to drink more water? Keep a filled water bottle within arm's reach at all times. Trying to exercise more? Leave your workout clothes and shoes by your bed so they're the first thing you see in the morning. Want to eat more fruit? Keep a bowl of fresh fruit on your kitchen counter. The key is to make the cues for your desired habits obvious and the cues for undesired habits less visible. This might mean hiding the TV remote if you want to watch less television or keeping your phone in another room if you're trying to reduce screen time. By manipulating your environment, you can make good habits easier and bad habits harder. It's important to note that while environmental design is powerful, it's not a magic solution. It works best when combined with other strategies for habit formation, such as setting clear intentions, starting with small manageable changes, and being consistent in your efforts. The environment serves as a support system for your intentions, making it easier to follow through on your goals. Moreover, the most effective environmental designs are often personalized. What works for one person might not work for another. It's crucial to pay attention to your own behavior patterns and adjust your environment accordingly. This might involve some trial and error, but the process of refining your environment can be an enlightening journey of self-discovery. Another interesting aspect of environmental design is its potential for creating ripple effects. When you change one aspect of your environment to support a particular habit, you might find that it influences other behaviors as well. For instance, setting up a meditation corner in your home might not only increase your meditation practice, but also lead to more reading or journaling time in that peaceful space. It's also worth considering how this principle applies in shared spaces or organizational settings. How might a company design its office to promote collaboration or creativity? How can a school arrange its classrooms to enhance learning? These are questions that move beyond individual habit formation and into the realm of collective behavior change. The concept of environmental design for behavior change also raises some ethical considerations. While it can be used for positive outcomes, like promoting healthier eating or energy conservation, it could potentially be misused for manipulation or to promote behaviors that aren't in people's best interests. As we become more aware of how our environment shapes our behavior, it's important to be mindful of who is designing the environments we inhabit and for what purpose. In conclusion, while motivation and willpower certainly have their place in behavior change, the role of our environment is often underestimated. By understanding and leveraging the power of environmental cues, we can create contexts that naturally support our desired behaviors and make positive change more sustainable. Whether you're trying to build a new habit, break an old one, or simply optimize your daily routines, consider how you can design your environment to work for you rather than against you. Remember, you are not just a passive participant in your environment, you have the power to shape it. By becoming the architect of your surroundings, you can create a world that nudges you toward your goals and aspirations. This approach to personal growth and habit formation is not about forcing change through sheer will, but about creating an ecosystem that supports and nurtures the person you want to become. So the next time you find yourself struggling to stick to a new habit or achieve a goal, take a step back and look at your environment. What cues are present? What behaviors does your current setup encourage or discourage? How might you adjust your surroundings to make your desired actions easier and more natural? By asking these questions and making deliberate changes to your environment, you can harness the invisible forces that shape behavior and use them to your advantage. In the end, lasting change often comes not from changing who you are but from changing the world around you. By understanding and applying the principles of environmental design, you can create a context that supports your growth, makes your desired behaviors almost effortless. It helps you become the person you aspire to be. The power of our environment in shaping our behavior is often underestimated. We tend to believe that our actions are primarily driven by our willpower and conscious decisions, but the reality is far more nuanced. The spaces we inhabit and the objects that surround us play a crucial role in determining our habits and routines, often in ways we don't even realize. Consider for a moment the habits you'd like to cultivate or the ones you're struggling to break. Perhaps you want to read more books, exercise regularly, or cut down on snacking. Now take a look around your living space. Are there visible cues that support these desired behaviors, or is your environment working against you? The truth is, every habit begins with a cue or trigger that initiates the behavior. When these cues are hidden or subtle, it becomes all too easy to ignore them and fall back into old patterns. Think about that guitar tucked away in the closet, rarely played because it's out of sight, or the vitamins pushed to the back of the pantry, forgotten until they expire. These scenarios illustrate how our environment can inadvertently sabotage our best intentions. But what if we could harness this environmental influence to our advantage? By deliberately designing our spaces to support our goals, we can create a powerful ally in our quest for personal growth and habit formation. Let's explore a fascinating example from Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. In the early 1990s, the cleaning staff faced a persistent problem with spillage around the urinals in men's restrooms. Their solution was brilliantly simple. They added a small sticker that looked like a fly near the center of each urinal. This tiny environmental change had a remarkable effect. Men instinctively aimed at what they perceived to be an insect, significantly improving their accuracy and reducing mess. This clever design not only solved a practical problem but also cut cleaning costs by 8% annually. This example demonstrates the profound impact that small, strategic changes to our environment can have on behavior. It's not about forcing change through willpower alone, but about creating contexts that naturally guide us toward desired actions. Consider how this principle might apply to your own life. If you're trying to eat healthier, for instance, you could replicate the strategy used with apples. Instead of hiding fruits and vegetables in the crisper drawer, where they're easily forgotten, place them in a prominent bowl on the kitchen counter. This simple change makes healthy snacks the most visible and accessible option, increasing the likelihood that you'll reach for them instead of less nutritious alternatives. The key is to make the cues for your desired habits obvious and unavoidable. Want to remember to take your medication? Place the pill bottle next to your toothbrush. Aiming to practice an instrument more often? Set up the instrument stand in the middle of your living room. Hoping to express more gratitude? Keep thank you notes and stamps on your desk where you'll see them daily. By populating your environment with these visual reminders and cues, you're essentially programming your surroundings to prompt the behaviors you want to encourage. It's like setting up a series of friendly nudges throughout your day, each one gently steering you toward your goals. But the influence of our environment goes beyond just visual cues. The entire context surrounding a behavior can become associated with the habit over time. This is why many people drink more in social situations than they would alone. It's not just the presence of alcohol that triggers the behavior, but the whole atmosphere. The music, the friends, the setting. Understanding this context-dependent nature of habits opens up new strategies for change. If you're struggling to establish a new habit or break an old one, sometimes the most effective approach is to change your environment entirely. This is why people often find it easier to adopt new routines when they move to a new home or start a new job. The new context is free from the ingrained associations of the old one, providing a clean slate for establishing different patterns. However, you don't need to make a major life change to leverage this principle. Even small environmental shifts can be powerful. If you're trying to establish a writing habit, for example, you might designate a specific corner of your home as your writing spot. Use this space only for writing, and over time, your brain will begin to associate that location with the act of writing, making it easier to slip into a creative mindset when you sit down there. This strategy of associating specific contexts with specific behaviors can be applied to various areas of life. Having trouble falling asleep? Train yourself to use your bed only for sleeping. If you can't fall asleep within a reasonable time, get up and do something relaxing in another room until you feel tired. Over time, your brain will learn to associate your bed solely with sleep, making it easier to drift off when you lie down. The power of context in shaping our habits also highlights the importance of creating clear boundaries between different areas of our lives. In today's world, where many of us work from home, it's increasingly common for our professional and personal lives to blur together. This can make it difficult to switch off from work mode and fully relax. I experienced this challenge firsthand when I started my entrepreneurial career, working from my couch or kitchen table. I found it nearly impossible to establish a clear end to my workday. The solution came when I was able to set up a dedicated home office. Suddenly, work became something that happened in a specific room, while the rest of my home was for personal life. This physical separation created a psychological boundary, making it much easier to transition between work and relaxation. This concept of one space, one use can be a powerful tool in organizing your life and habits. By assigning specific activities to specific areas, you create mental shortcuts that help you slip into the right mindset for each task. Your kitchen becomes a place for cooking and enjoying meals. Your bedroom, a sanctuary for rest. Your desk, a focus zone for work or study. When designing your environment to support your habits, it's crucial to think not just in terms of objects but relationships. The items in your space aren't just things, they're potential triggers for behaviors. That comfortable armchair might be a reading nook for one person but a TV watching spot for another. The associations we form with our surroundings are deeply personal and can significantly influence our actions. This perspective shift, from seeing your environment as a collection of objects to a web of relationships, can be transformative. It encourages you to be more intentional about how you interact with your space and the items in it. Each time you enter a room or use an object, you're reinforcing a particular behavior pattern. By being mindful of these interactions, you can start to reshape them in ways that align with your goals. Another powerful strategy is to increase the number of positive cues in your environment while decreasing negative ones. If you're trying to read more, for instance, you might place books in every room of your house, creating multiple reminders of your reading goal. Conversely, if you're trying to watch less television, you could hide the remote control or even cover the TV when it's not in use. It's worth noting that our modern digital environments are just as influential as our physical ones, if not more so. The apps on our phone's home screen, the bookmarks in our browser, the notifications we allow, all of these act as cues that shape our behavior. Applying the principles of environmental design to our digital spaces can be incredibly powerful. Something as simple as rearranging your phone's apps to make productive tools more visible and distracting ones less accessible can have a significant impact on your daily habits. As you embark on this journey of environmental design, remember that it's an iterative process. What works for someone else might not work for you, and what works for you today might need adjustment in the future. Be willing to experiment, observe the results, and make changes as needed. The goal is to create an environment that feels natural and supportive, not one that feels forced or restrictive. It's also important to approach this process with self-compassion. Changing habits is challenging, and there will likely be setbacks along the way. Instead of viewing these as failures, see them as valuable data points that can inform your next iteration of environmental design. Ultimately, the power of environmental design lies in its ability to make desired behaviors easier and undesired behaviors harder. By thoughtfully arranging your surroundings, you can create a world that naturally guides you toward your goals, reducing the need for constant willpower and conscious decision-making. This approach to personal growth and habit formation is about working smarter, not harder. It's about recognizing that we are not separate from our environment but deeply interconnected with it. By becoming active designers of our spaces, both physical and digital, we can harness the subtle yet powerful forces that shape our daily actions. So take a moment to look around you. What story does your current environment tell about your habits and priorities? What changes could you make to better align your surroundings with your aspirations? Remember, you have the power to shape your world, and in doing so, to shape yourself. By creating spaces that support your goals and values, you're not just changing your environment. You're changing your life, one small cue at a time. The interplay between our environment and our habits is a fascinating area of study that challenges many long-held beliefs about willpower, addiction, and behavior change. To truly understand how we can shape our habits, and by extension our lives, we need to delve into the subtle yet powerful ways our surroundings influence our actions. Let's begin with a startling discovery made during the Vietnam War. In 1971, Congressman Robert Steele and Morgan Murphy uncovered a shocking fact. Over 15% of U.S. soldiers stationed in Vietnam were heroin addicts. Further research revealed that the problem was even more widespread, with up to 35% of service members having tried heroin and as many as 20% being addicted. This revelation sent shockwaves through Washington and led to the creation of the Special Action Office of Drug Abuse. The office was tasked with addressing this crisis, including tracking addicted service members upon their return home. What happened next would challenge everything we thought we knew about addiction. Researcher Lee Robbins, who was involved in studying these returning soldiers, made a groundbreaking discovery. Contrary to the prevailing belief that heroin addiction was a permanent, irreversible condition, Robbins found that only 5% of the soldiers who had used heroin in Vietnam became re-addicted after returning home. In Vietnam, these soldiers were surrounded by cues that triggered heroin use. Easy access to the drug, the constant stress of war, friendships with other users, and distance from their normal lives. When they returned home, these environmental triggers were absent, and for many, the addiction simply faded away. This stands in stark contrast to the typical experience of drug users in the United States. When someone becomes addicted in their home environment, goes to a clinic to get clean, and then returns to their old neighborhood, they're immediately confronted with all the cues that originally led to their addiction. It's no wonder that relapse rates in these situations are often as high as 90%, the exact opposite of what was observed with the Vietnam veterans. These findings challenge our cultural narrative about bad habits and addiction. For decades, we've been told that unhealthy behaviors, whether drug addiction, overeating, or smoking, are primarily a result of moral weakness or lack of self-control. We've internalized the idea that if we just had more discipline, we could overcome any bad habit. However, recent research paints a different picture. When scientists study people who appear to have exceptional self-control, they find that these individuals aren't fundamentally different from those who struggle. The key difference is that people with high self-control are better at structuring their lives in ways that minimize temptation. In essence, they create environments that support their goals, reducing the need for constant willpower battles. This insight is profound. The people with the best self-control are often those who need to use it the least. They're not constantly resisting temptation, they're avoiding it altogether by shaping their environment. This doesn't mean that perseverance and willpower are unimportant. Rather, it suggests that the most effective way to improve these qualities is not by willing ourselves to be more disciplined, but by creating more disciplined environments. To understand why this approach is so powerful, we need to look at how habits are formed and encoded in the brain. Once a habit is established, it becomes a ready-to-use pattern of behavior that can be triggered whenever the relevant situation arises. This encoding is so strong that it can persist for decades, even if the habit isn't practiced. Consider the case of Patty Olwell, a therapist from Austin, Texas. When she was younger, she often smoked while riding horses with a friend. She eventually quit smoking and stopped riding horses. Years later, when she rode a horse again, she suddenly found herself craving a cigarette for the first time in ages. The association between horse riding and smoking was still encoded in her brain, just waiting for the right cue to reactivate it. This persistence of encoded habits explains why many behavior change techniques can backfire. When we expose people to cues associated with their bad habits, we can inadvertently trigger the very behaviors we're trying to stop. For example, a shame-based weight loss presentations can stress obese individuals, leading them to turn to their familiar coping mechanism, Overeating. Showing graphic images of damaged lungs to smokers can increase anxiety, driving them to reach for a cigarette to calm down. The power of environmental cues in triggering habits also explains why bad habits can be so persistent and self-reinforcing. They often create a negative feedback loop, what we might call an autocatalytic process. The habit feeds itself. You feel bad, so you eat junk food. Because you eat junk food, you feel bad. You feel sluggish from watching too much TV, so you continue watching because you lack the energy to do anything else. Do you worry about your health, which makes you anxious, so you smoke to ease the anxiety, which in turn worsens your health and increases your anxiety? It's a downward spiral that can feel impossible to escape. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for anyone looking to break bad habits or establish good ones. It highlights the importance of creating environments that support our goals rather than undermine them. This might mean removing temptations from our immediate surroundings, changing our routines to avoid triggering situations, intentionally introducing cues that prompt positive behaviors. For instance, if you're trying to eat healthier, simply willing yourself to make better choices isn't enough. You need to reshape your food environment. This could involve removing junk food from your home, meal prepping in advance, avoiding routes that take you past your favorite fast food restaurants. By reducing your exposure to unhealthy food cues and increasing healthy ones, you make it easier to stick to your goals without constantly battling temptation. Similarly, if you're aiming to be more productive, relying solely on willpower to ignore distractions is a losing battle. Instead, you might create a dedicated workspace free from the cues that trigger procrastination. Use website blockers during work hours. Wear specific work clothes that signal to your brain it's time to focus. The principle extends to digital environments as well. In our hyper-connected world, our devices often serve multiple, sometimes conflicting purposes. Your smartphone might be both a vital work tool and your primary source of entertainment. This mixing of contexts can make it challenging to maintain focus or avoid procrastination. One strategy to combat this is to create distinct digital environments for different purposes. For example, use your computer solely for work. Reserve your tablet for reading. Limit your phone to communication and social media.